Good morning and a warm welcome to all our esteemed panelists and attendees from across the globe. I welcome you all to the Networks Webinar Series 2020 curated by ET Tech. I am delighted to know that we have over 1,500 registrations for today's webinar. ACETEC, being the largest networking platform of the country, is honored to bring together the expert industry leaders through our webinar series, ACETEC Networks. It is a platform which has been thought-evoking from top leaders in the architectural design, construction, manufacturing space, and this has been the very core at ET ACETEC since its inception. The arguments for wood are many. Wood can save us a lot of carbon emission along with being durable, aesthetic, and functional. Then why don't we use more of wood? The biggest challenges are the lack of knowledge and the hands-on experience. Let's change that. We all are gathered here to share knowledge and to overcome the challenges together in order to ultimately improve the potential and enhance the use of wood as a material. I would like to thank our Powered by sponsor, Butex Global and WeatherTech for supporting this topic today. We would now like to play a short video on Butex, post which we will briefly introduce all our panelists for today.
Coffee break?
This is better for you. It's natural. Our teacher said that homes should be made of long-lasting, sustainable materials that won't harm our health or the planet. Is that why we're using WeatherTech cladding?
Naturally. Aside from being a safer and healthier cladding, there are many other reasons that WeatherTech should be your first choice. They are Australian owned and made with over 50 years in the business and voted #1 most trusted brand in the building industry. They're 100% natural, made from Australian hardwood with no added chemicals, glues, silica, resins and formaldehyde. Only standard carpentry tools are needed for cutting. They're extremely durable, lightweight and flexible, with panels that are up to 10 kilos lighter. They offer up to 25 years warranty against rotting, splitting and cracking. They're termite resistant. They offer a wide selection of weatherboards and architectural panels available in both natural and primed. WeatherTech, a better choice, naturally.
Good morning and a warm welcome to the respected panel and the viewers who have joined us today. We highly appreciate the support extended by sponsors Butex Global and WeatherTech. I take this opportunity to introduce the panel, even though I'm sure they don't need an introduction. Architect Reza Kabul, President ARK Studio Inc. ARK is a comprehensive global design studio with 3 decades of proven expertise in project design and delivery, ranging from master plans and townships to industrial, hospitality, commercial, institutional, educational, and residential segments. ARK headquartered in Mumbai with offices ARK Studio Pune, ARK Studio in San Francisco, California, USA, is a full-service architectural, interiors, landscape design and planning company. Architect Sunil Gambani, Principal Architect, Drishti Architects and Interior Designers. As the name suggests, Drishti Architects encompasses a vision to design buildings and interiors based on neat simplicity, logic and style. Over 25 years of experience as Senior Associate with Mr. Hafiz Contractor, Sunil Gambani started this firm. Today, Drishti Architects stands tall as a multidisciplinary firm who maximize the potential of every project, devoting attention to detail from concept to completion and beyond. Architect James Law, Chairman and CEO, James Law Cybertecture. Cybertecture aims to change the world by providing world-acclaimed leading-edge design in architecture, interior design, master planning, consulting, technology, and interior design, artwork production, and design and build services for private, corporate, and institutional clients around the world, adopting an innovation approach in all projects undertaken, whether architecture, interior design, and build, art, sculpture, technology, and industrial design or consulting. Rohit Suraj, founder and CEO, Urban Zen. Instilling fascination, elevating the human spirit, and initiating conversation are the cornerstones of Urban Zen's design story. Rohit Suraj, Urban Zen's founder and CEO, is a TEDx speaker. Rohit has designed and executed, starting from multi-million-dollar international megaports to multi-plan developments, mid-rise buildings, niche villas, and boutiques. Urban Zen and his founders stay committed now and always. Snehal Suthar, Principal Designer of the Grid Architects. Snehal has done his Masters in Sustainability, and Bhadri is an interior designer from APIED Vidyanagar, Gujarat. The Grid Architects is a multidisciplinary design firm which incorporates an array of design combinations and are deeply committed to excellence. While they strive towards compelling and dynamic spaces, they do so by combining clarity with quiet and thoughtful innovation. The architecture and interiors are mindful of international standards of design, including those for physically challenged, known as barrier-free spaces and green and sustainable building and spaces. Mr. Manish Kumat, founder and chief designer, Manish Kumat Design Cell. Mr. Manish Kumat presently is the honorary secretary of the IIID. The idea was to build something that lasts and to enhance the quality of the built environment and people's lives. The idea has become a reality thanks to the team, a practice made of people sharing the passion for design, for the attention to detail. Important objectives have been reached, solid foundation has been laid to achieve more in the future. Architect Ankur Sangvi, AMAS Architects, 17 years of experience having worked on sustainable consultant for several projects from CIS Sorabji Godrej Business Center to the JSW building in DKC, Rajiv Gandhi International Terminal, Hyderabad. Provided architectural design, several LEED Gold and Platinum rated buildings in different parts of the country. Member of the National Building Code Committee for development of a new chapter 11 on sustainability. Sit on the Technical Core Committee for development of rating systems such as IGBC Green Homes Rating System, IGBC Net Zero Rating System, IGBC Green Factory Rating System. Mr. Paul Michael, Executive Chairman, WeatherTex. Paul Michael has been on the board of 5 timber associations and had bought the business 20 years ago. Australian owned and manufactured with a better than zero carbon footprint, WeatherTex is the ideal solution for any builder, architect, or designer in search for environmentally conscious and high quality material. It ticks all the boxes and certified state forest or private hardwoods without any chemical additives. Mr. Ranjit Dodi, Managing Director, Butex Global, carrying forward the legacy of its founder, late Swaranjit Singh Dodi. The promoters of the family-owned and family-run Butex Group, Mr. Prabjot Dodi and Mr. Ranjit Dodi, have spearheaded the success story. Butex has been beautifying lives through its wide range of exclusive products today, engaged in manufacturing, importing, and supplying of quality products, serving and building for the interiors industry. A new range of products from different regions, which include flooring, facades, and fenestration, operating on a pan-Asia level through a well-balanced network of associates and multi-location inventory program to serve time-pressing projects across the world. Without further delay, I'd like to hand over the mic to Architect Reza Kabul, sir, to begin the panel discussion. So the mic is all yours, and thank you for shaping up this panel discussion.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, all the zones. Thank you to ACETEC and my other panel friends, and welcome. So today we're going to be talking about wood, and we're looking at wood. Wood is one of the oldest materials, or it has been used for centuries, and it is one of the most prime source of building material. It's the longest living material in nature. Wooden structures effortlessly combine aesthetics and strength, thermal protection, and environmental benefits to create spaces of optional look, feel, and function. Wood was a part of Neolithic man and man-made buildings before man was available with tools of sufficient capacity. So it has been used for a very long time. And wood is an organic, hygroscopic, and anisotropic material due to its environmental friendly, renewable, and extremely durable features. Wood remains an extremely popular choice for both buildings and furnishings. Wood is a renewable material and uses less energy and resources to process compared to many other buildings. So there are a lot of benefits of wood, and it is of course a very renewable and sustainable material. Looking at all these things, we would like to go ahead and take the panel views and how do we use wood in a better style. I would like to go first to Sunil Gambani. Sunil is a firm believer of nature and its 5 elements of air, earth, space, and fire. What is your thoughts on why wood, a material that goes never out of style, why is it most preferred material? Sunil.
Morning to everyone, all our viewers, the panelists, Ranjit and everyone else. Reza, I have always had a personal kind of an approach and a personal kind of a touch towards this whole thing. You know, I have firmly believed that human essentially is of nature. Like you rightly said, the 5 elements are something that we ourselves are composed of. If you look at nature, it is nothing but air, water, space, earth, and fire. Now, earth is something which is closest to us, which we've been using since time immemorial. We were born here, we were born off it, we go back to it. Wood also is one of the most natural materials that is a part of the earth. All of these as being used, no doubt, but they are used in a modified or a kind of a developed form, unlike wood, which is most natural to us. So, you know, it generally tends to bring a natural affinity from within itself, which is why I think it has, obviously, in addition to the characteristics that we all spelt out, which you rightly put across, it's got a kind of a feeling that comes from within in a large number of people towards its active usage. So one, of course, we being influencers and catalysts tend to guide clients in appropriate methods of usage, but a lot of knowledgeable clients themselves have this inherent affinity towards the material on account of it, you know, having the characteristics that it has and being of nature. So I think that's one of the reasons why it's stood the test of time. And, you know, right from old palaces, ancient palaces that one has seen, you've seen only modifications of whether it's ancient or it's contemporary or it's whatever it is. But as a material, nature has given us an abundance. It's our responsibility, no doubt, to use it judiciously. But the abundance that nature has provided and the strength that it has provided is something that one is able to, you know, harness.
And it's
And
actually,
that's one of the reasons.
It's like luxury. Wood is like a luxury.
Again, definitely. I definitely, you know, ostentatious luxury. I would deem luxury to be happiness. In anything that gives me happiness, to me, is luxury. And wood, with its simplicity, with its versatility, with its warmth, it's able to cater to every mindset in different ways, and the kind of flexibility it offers towards usage is unbelievable.
Right. Thank you. So, I mean, that's Sunil looking at it from the, you know, nature part of it. We come to James sitting in Hong Kong, and, you know, James is the founder of Cybertecture and Futuristic Architecture. How would James look at, you know, applying wood into his futuristic this thing? Do you have some futuristic wood or something which is there?
Thank you, Reza. You know, I think for a long time, as modern architects, we were fascinated with all of the typical materials of concrete, glass, and steel. And wood, actually, I have to admit, for a long time, I left aside my career because here in Hong Kong, we don't use wood a lot. For the structure. But, you know, as somebody who is passionate about innovation in architecture, I think there is a case for wood coming back in a very innovative way. What that is that, you know, in this world where we have limited resources, having a sustainable material source that we can use and craft in new ways is very important. Concrete is metamorphosic, glass is metamorphosic, which means that basically once you've used the raw material, it can never go back and be recycled. And if the world continues to have more people, we have to build more and more buildings and more cities, we really are going to destroy the planet if we're going to use our materials in that way. So for me, I think wood represents a potential relook at how materials can be used. And specifically, you know, apart from the, you know, the qualities of wood that we know about, which is basically, you know, it's warmth, it's our innate instinct towards wood. I think there is a lot of interesting applications of wood which could be going beyond what we are currently using. You know, for example, going beyond, you know, the way in which we use the fiber of the wood just as a panel. Maybe it could become other kinds of skins on the building. Anyway, I'm not an expert in wood, but I just feel that there is some hidden potential behind wood that could be rediscovered with new technologies and new way of looking at materials that may allow, you know, skyscrapers and portable buildings and modular construction to be much more adaptable and sustainable. So it's an exciting material to look at.
Thank you. Let me just have the next question to Rohit Suraj. Rohit, I believe, is not trained as an architect and interior designer, but he believes that the greatest strength, that is his greatest strength, and having no precedent to follow, it's mostly his intuition that leads to different outlook and execution. So what do you look at, I mean, how do you look at using wood in your style of architecture and the projects that you do?
Hi, thanks, Reza, and hi to everyone there. I think fundamentally for us, and the way I look at it, not just with wood, but in all the designing we do, is to fundamentally be true to the material we use. So when I look at stone or wood or metal or any other material for that matter, you tend to use the material as it was made to be used, rather than have imitations. For instance, you have you know, steel looking like wood, and you have tiles looking like stone, and so on. So I think from that aspect, and with a lot that has already been said in terms of let's say its warmth or its appeal, for instance, and the fact that it is in many ways a legacy product. I mean, it is something that has been used for many years, not so much in India, and I think that's the reason why we also have this forum here to sort of get educated and educate the audience. But absolutely, I mean, wood for me is a very integral part of a lot of the work we do, and I use it so in its most natural form. So,
but I believe in India, we've always used wooden structures. We had wooden buildings initially. If you look at the old buildings of Kerala, or you look at the old poles in Ahmedabad, they're all out of the wood, you know, the columns, the carvings, and all the beauty that is there. So, I mean, wood has been used extensively in India. It's not that.
Absolutely. I mean, I was referring to more the current trend of its use, but you see a lot of it coming back. I mean, when you're looking back at, I mean, even going into Kerala and the way they sort of sometimes are bringing down these sort of more heritage establishments. So the resale of wood, I mean, the amount that can be used and reused in terms of when you bring a structure made out of wood, I mean, it's far more significant than what you could reuse when you're using other forms of building materials. So yeah, absolutely there, yes. In terms of history, we have used wood, but we just don't use it enough anymore.
Right. It's, I think, because of the cost that is there, and that's becoming a little, expensive, and that's why people started avoiding using wood, and they started using something which looks like wood in the interior and the exterior facade as well. And there is no maintenance. There's lesser maintenance that is, driving us to use non or look-alike materials than of wood.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is. I mean, there's a lot of some misconception. Other, let's say, it's not correctly read in terms of maintenance as well, I feel. So the opportunity to use it certainly exists.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Snail. I'd like to put the next question to you. You're deeply interested in sustainable design and are focused on the use of natural materials. So does building wooden structure require more than steel structure? More time than steel structure? How does the use of wood in interiors affect the well-being of the occupants?
Well, good afternoon to everybody. Well, it is very obvious that when you think about the construction of wooden building, it is obvious that, okay, it will be faster. But I think if you compare it with steel, it will take the same time, as I believe, since the technology is there. I mean, even the prefabrication steel structure is quickly erected. But wood is, of course, it is easy to handle. You can easily customize the details. The tools which you are using for building wooden structure, it is a bit easier. So, considering the technology of steel, making steel building and wooden building, till erection part, I think time will be the same. That is what I guess. But when the time of handover, I think wooden buildings are much more easier to hand over and much more faster, because once the building is ready, wooden building is ready, you are ready to occupy. It is ready. I mean, it is ready to use. Whereas in steel structure, you need to camouflage so many things. I mean, you have to paint certain elements, you have to hide certain elements. So I think wooden is, in the end, wooden is much more faster.
Right. So you feel that wood is faster, and but then what about the maintenance of it? Do you think wood needs more maintenance than steel structures?
See, I don't think so, because nowadays so many green materials, so many green applications and technologies is available to protect the wood. I think we should use it. I don't think so it is that much difficult to maintain wood, particularly it is used in inside or indoor climate. Of course, the region like in India, particularly the western region of India, it is very difficult to manage the wood when it is used exteriorly. But again, there are so many applications are available, green applications which can protect the wood. And it has a fantastic value of insulation. Its thermal conductivity is so less. I mean, it is very good for hot areas like Ahmedabad particularly.
Right. I think that was the reason why it was used more in the poles and all the the heritage structures that were there in the Gujarat region, where it's hot and dry. And Manish, I'd like to come to you with you've taken inspiration from nature, and you say God is the best designer. What are your thoughts on wooden construction or wood to be used as interior and exterior? Do you think is it characterized as a luxury product, or it can be used for any kind of construction?
You're on mute, Manishji. You're on mute. Manishji, you're on mute.
Okay. Good afternoon, panelists, and good afternoon, audience.
Good afternoon.
Wood has been very close to my style of working for since the time I started, for two important reasons. One is it is timeless. If you see a concrete building in general when we talk, and if you see still, the houses in maybe Kerala or maybe the old houses which were done out of wood, there is some kind of timelessness, and still we get attracted and fascinated with those kind of structures. So one, this is timeless, and other, wood as a material creates experience. The design becomes experiential. Somewhere we get connected with whether it is architecture or interiors, the way the wood has been used, because the connection happens because it's an organic material, it is a natural material. Second, most of the time wood is handcrafted. There is an involvement of hand in doing it. It can be machined, it can be given a shape, The way we dream, the way we think, we want to use it, it can be used. It has been used as a structural element also. I see old houses and where wood has been used in putting lintels and putting beams and putting columns, and then composite structures have also happened where brick and wood have been used together. Again, in contemporary times, I think there was a lot of skill in the past, in the ancient times, which was available in terms of woodworking. The carpenters, they knew how the grains impacted the strength, how to use, where to use, what kind of wood to be used, in what kind of structure to be used. So that kind of skill over a period of time, I would say that to a certain extent it is lost. And when we try to use wood we don't see a lot of wooden structures these days. We do a lot of, most of us, we are doing a lot of landscaping. We are using gazebos. We are trying to make, wooden structures. But somewhere over a period of time, these things are not lasting in terms of its effect. So in my practice, what we have done, we have tried to do some composite kind of things where wood becomes the fascia, where wood becomes the thing which is visible. But at the same time, the structure, the strength of the structure is derived from maybe the metal. So that is something which but when we talk about interiors, I think wood does not have any substitute. The moment you talk of luxury, the luxury comes by handcrafting. The luxury comes by hand being applied on a piece of material. So that thing virtually, wood, we can give any kind of shape, and the kind of finish, even the clients, they are more happy the moment it's a luxury segment. Solid wood designs and all these things, they make a lot of the value addition to the interiors. So in luxury, wood is unavoidable.
Thank you. Ankur, let me come to you. You're a IGBC certified lead AP and a firm believer of sustainability. So what is sustainable certified wood and what makes it sustainable?
Reza, thank you for your question. I was just listening to all the other panelists, and what I feel is that one of the reasons why wood is not used as much as it should be is that, you have this image that whenever you use wood, you are actually chopping off trees, you're cutting off trees, you have this image of deforestation that happens in your mind. So you tend to think that whenever you use wood, it is not a sustainable material. But in fact, it is the other way around. What happens is that wood is the only material which regenerates itself. And you have agencies like PEFC, I believe WeatherTech is PEFC certified. Similarly, you have FSC certification. And whenever you have wood which is certified by one of these agencies, say FSC or say PEFC, what it means is that this wood has actually been derived from a forest that has been harvested in a sustainable manner. In fact, what FSC does is they've got these 10 principles that they look at, and only when there's a plantation that meets all of these 10 criteria do they get FSC certification. So you have things like, you look at whether the wood is harvested in a sustainable manner, whether it belongs to any indigenous tribes or not, whether it complies with all the laws or not, whether all the workers who are working in the plantation, are being given their rights or not. So you have all of these parameters which are addressed by this certification agencies. So whenever you see a logo, you have the logo with the little head, there is a FSC logo. You know that the wood that you use is a certified wood. And again, when you talk about sustainability in wood, I think James made a very valid point when he said that, wood is one of the few materials which can actually be reused. It is not like concrete that, you use it once and it is fixed forever. In fact, it is a material that can be reused in multiple ways. You were talking about Havelis of Gujarat. We have worked on projects where we have actually taken door frames from such Havelis and reused it. There are so many times that we have used sleeper wood. In fact, there's one very well-known project that I know about. I was not involved with it directly, but I know of it. Is if you see the Eicher Volvo corporate building in Delhi, where the whole exterior facade is made with railway sleeper wood in such a way that it acts like a shading device. So yes, there are ways in which you can use wood in a sustainable manner, unless you have wood which is FSC certified, which is fine, or you reuse wood from any other existing building by just refurbishing it to a certain extent.
Right. Thank you. I remember when I started my practice about 33 years ago, we started doing a lot of interior work. And what we used to do, we used to go to the old Chor Bazaar and we used to buy the old Burma teak. That was from all the buildings that were being demolished in Mumbai, and the logs that the beams and the columns that would come out, we used to take them because that was the best wood. That was the most seasoned wood. It had been, maybe hundreds of years. It was used in the buildings and it was taken out from there. And we used to use that log to do furniture. That was the best material and most strong material. And so that's what, when we are talking about reusable, yes, I remember that we did that in my practice when I started my interior jobs and everything in India. So,
when you talk about interiors, I worked with Sunil on a project when he was at Hafiz, where we have reused a lot of wood from another office. I'm sure Sunil can talk about it better than I can.
No, but you go ahead. This was CRISIL, and it was a fabulous experience. Ankur guided us through the green aspects of the building, and it was one of the first few buildings of India that was which received a platinum rating from IGBC. And there was a lot of wood that we used there. Like he rightly said, it was used from other locations, and there were due credits towards this, which were benefited.
So the buildings that were pulled down, you used the wood from there, or it was the building from the existing
buildings that are pulled down?
The same building on the site was pulled down?
Not in this particular case, but in the vicinities.
Okay, right. So yeah, that's one of these things that is there. And of course, what our friend was just saying about growing the timber. Be in California, this is what is happening. All the buildings that we are doing, they're all timber construction buildings, and the wood is actually grown and it's certified, and that is used as a sustainable material for construction. So yes, I think they're looking at doing 10-story towers and 15-story towers. I was reading something coming up in Philippines, which is a 20-story tower with timber construction.
Wow.
So that is something new. So James, do you think you can do something with that kind of with timber as medium of construction, and coming up with something cybertexture, something new, something futuristic?
Well, I'm always up for the challenge. Listening to everybody and learning from all of you makes me think about the huge potentials behind wood in architecture. And aside from the reuse aspect, can you imagine a building that literally grows? If a building is literally live wood, it's not impossible, because we've seen tree houses that have been created that last, hundreds of years, and the tree is growing with the architecture. It becomes part of the architecture. And in some ways, that opens up a huge potential for a new generation of architecture that is not just built and then just used. It is an architecture that potentially can evolve and grow, decay, regenerate as time goes by. And recently I was reading an article on the Mars plans of Elon Musk, and we're actually working on a project with him at the moment, but nothing to do with Mars. But it suddenly makes me think that if we are able to grow wood from seeds and take it to a disparate location like another planet or to the desert or something like this, we could literally grow our own building materials, and perhaps wood would be the first starting point to an architecture like that. So yeah, I'm up for the challenge. If any of you want to join me, we can have a go.
Excellent thoughts. I like the thought. We could always offline, we could discuss and we could think of something. And Yeah, why not? By discussions, by these panel discussions, we come up with something new, and it, it triggers off something, some new ideas that is there. So yeah,
large number of forest resorts, Reza. It's lovely to be within nature. You don't even have to actually, taking up from what James said, if we constructing them outside, all you need to do is to have some small piles, raise some columns, go above the trees, and have fabulous views. All these tiger trails, a large number of resorts, places like Panchgani, places like Mahabaleshwar, a lot of hill stations which are deeply forested. Rather than living in buildings in such places, it would be lovely to live within these kind of tree houses and, have a nature at its best, a part of it.
Right. So yeah, that's yeah. I mean, James has actually started something, giving everybody a new thought. So why not? Let's sometimes maybe exchange mails, and you could just take it up from there. So Snehal, I would like to ask you, why is wood material that never goes out of style? Why is it the most preferred material?
It's in our DNA. I would say it's in our DNA, as everybody mentioned, and it's purely it belongs to Mother Earth. We also belongs to Mother Earth. Okay. I believe all the natural materials, like if you consider wood, water, trees, natural light, everything belongs to Mother Earth, like we belongs to it. So I could say it's in our DNA. It has many attributes. I mean, when you sit in an office or working space which is made out of wood, you feel stress-free. And of course, if you sit on a plastic chair, you won't feel, oh, it's great. But when you touch wood, there is such a kind of sensation is there, because you are connected to yourself. That is what you are feeling. It has a tremendous energy, because again, it belongs to the Mother Earth.
It's got some life in it. Wood has some life in it. And I think that is the reason why we always, get that feeling when we touch the wood. It gives you the warmth, and, unlike steel or concrete, it doesn't give you that feeling, or plastic doesn't give you that feeling. So that's, I think that's...
So I think anything which is belongs to Mother Earth or natural element, that is timeless. So maybe the trend is changing. So I will say trend is temporary, class is permanent. And this is something which is classic.
Right. So Paul, if you look at it, Paul, if you look at it, what my friend is saying, what do you think about it? Like when you touch your material, does it speak? Does it give you the same feeling?
Definitely.
Yep.
Paul,
so that was to me?
Yeah, I'm just asking you this question. I mean, what he said is that when you touch wood, or you touch a steel, or you touch plastic, wood gives you a warmth. It gives you a feeling. It gives you, you can relate to it. It gives you a vibration. Does your material give the same feel as well?
Not only, I think, not only wood. I think, sorry, Paul, can continue. I mean, I would like to say not only wood, but even if you touch water, even if you smell the wood, even when you hear the chirping of birds, everything, whatever belongs to nature is fascinating. I mean, it has a different sensation.
Yeah.
Please, Paul.
There's no question that historically wood has been used for external cladding of houses, and there's nothing warmer, nicer than having a timber-clad house. But more recently, we've been using our natural board, which is the same as the board that not been taken off the screen, but the board that is behind me is our natural WeatherTex, and we've started to use it as an architectural feature internally. and it can be used in specialist rooms such as bars or cellars, smoking rooms and the like. And in my own house, I've got a cellar with WeatherTex on the floor, ceiling and all the 4 walls. And you walk down in there and you can smell it. And it's got this unique feel about it, as well as being very calming, and the psychological effects on people that live and work in wooden rooms or rooms that have got wooden cladding on them is extraordinary. The biophilic effect that on people. So there's absolutely no question that compare that to a drywall or fibre cement or steel or glass, you don't get anywhere near that feeling, that natural feeling. It's quite extraordinary.
Thank you. So Manish, what do you think about what Paul says? You know, I mean, you look at wood that was being used in the past, and then now, what do you predict what's going to happen to wood going in the future? Manish.
Before I answer this, I will just like to pick up a point from what James said, which I want to share. You know, when we see the trees, we design buildings which have a lot of cantilevers, and then there is a structural element, and then there is a stiffness, and we have to do it. But when we see a tree, and we see a tree as a flexible design, and when we see, you know, the cantilever which comes out of a single stem, and at times the cantilever is 30, 40, 50 feet. This is amazing that when we try to do that in terms of design, and when there is a flexibility which comes in a tree, and the way, you know, the things sway. So can maybe somebody we think of designing houses which sway, houses which, you know, move with the wind, and that is a possible when we talk of a tree house which is not stiff. So this was always one point of thought which always came to my mind whenever I observed the trees. They have huge cantilevers and with a lot of branches which come out of it. Second point which I would also like to touch is wood has to be associated with craftsmanship. Now, this is one single material which I think the moment I talk of wood as a material which can be crafted, then it opens up immense possibilities. And this connects to the luxury, this connects to, you know, the human touch, human feel, and all those things. Now, coming to the question which you said, that maybe what would be the future and how the use of wood has changed now. Of course, the use of wood has changed because the human aspirations have changed. The acceptance of human has changed. There was a time when I think every home, every house had a wooden window. Now there are no more wooden windows. Most of them, wood comes only in a super luxury segment where wooden windows happen. Otherwise, most of the times it is a newer material. Similarly, when we talk of maybe the flooring has changed. The flooring was maybe stone or solid wood, or maybe now we have a lot of engineered wood, and maybe we have laminated wood floors. The cost economics changes. So then people are looking for more of glass. They want to have seamless kind of, you know, the inside and the outside connect. So this thing, and then most of the times if we talk of windows, the windows are sliding. They are no more openable most of the times. Earlier, because you have to open a glass window, then you have to put that thing, then you have to close the fly mesh panel, and that there was a lot of exercise. So these windows in the houses, most of the times they remain closed, and a lot of glass is not there at the times. So glass is also overtaking wood in certain places. So this is a debate which is constantly happening. Again, then there is a shift. Now in luxury segment, people are talking of wooden windows with bigger wooden spans happening now. So what happens in next maybe 5 or 10 years, what I see is the aspirations is going from going more towards sleeker section. Sleek and sleek. The moment we talk of interiors, it is very sleek. So all of a sudden in last 5 years, we are seeing a huge entry of metal into interiors. Earlier, it was not to that extent. So a lot of metal technologies in terms of maybe powder coated sections, maybe in terms of different coatings, they are now coming and they are replacing wood in a big way because the aspirations are now moving towards sleeker sections. So it seems that wood would be replaced in certain segments, but since it gets attached to the natural and the craftsmanship part, I would like to share just one slide in case if you permit, because that kind of possibility cannot happen without with any other material. So just allow me to share one single slide. Now this is when we were talking of green buildings. So the office which we have done for ourselves is the smallest green building, IGBC Platinum and GREA 5-star in the country. Now, when the kind of product design which you can do wood with a handle which is happening, and this single piece of door has maybe more than 1500 pieces, small pieces of wood. Now, what is one more aspect which is happening is that with the kind of the attachment of a percentage system in interiors, the craftsmanship is also going away. So earlier the craftsmanship was there, people were paid. Now this kind of door which uses almost more than 1500 pieces of wood, the system would not allow for it to be used. So many things are now changing and impacting the use of wood. So I think the immediate future looks for sleeker sections and entry of metal into a big way.
Sunil, what do you think? I mean, listening to Manish, you are doing a lot of luxury interiors and where you use a lot of wood. So do you think wood is a luxury? I think to some extent, because, when we started working, the cost of wood was, maybe X amount. Today it's X plus 10 or X plus 20. So it does not actually become, wood is not practical to be used for a low-end house. It's termed as a luxury, and it is a luxury because of the price. So what do you think about
in its natural form, Reza, what you're saying is right. It is luxury, no doubt, because of its cost impact. However, for anyone, for that segment and for those people who can afford it, I am yet to see an alternative, like Manish rightly said, bringing out the abilities of a whole generation, like carpenters and their, allied wood, I think is irreplaceable. Especially where you're doing bungalows and stuff, which are where people want to be with nature, then one doesn't see many more options. You go for materials which are more off the earth and completely with the earth. So there are some pictures I'll show you for a bungalow which we are doing at Pune for a client of ours. He, this is his plan. He had a fair piece of land. He wanted to create his gardens. He wanted to create his orchards. And, with all the green, wood also became inevitable. It started getting reflected almost everywhere that there was a possibility. The titles are self-explanatory. The sense of calm it inculcates, it's an immediate connection. You look at the roofscapes, it doesn't have too many other options of what one can do in these places to living in harmony with nature. Some of all these are images of what he's doing within his house.
Right.
So then you got a chalk like traditional households, the sense of oneness that one had, the sense of being able to integrate with the rest of the family, the visual connect, all of those, we're recreating all this for him, making it slightly contemporary, but at the same time, having, now even in his interiors, he's using it fairly well. It becomes completely eclectic if you use wood. The next slide also will show you that in the floor, and then across this, he's got something like a divan seating. So traditionally, within India or anywhere, one connects instantly.
But wood is it's
all
gone
over
to
the
the
place.
luxury
And
segment. It's no
the
more.
windows and all these places, you know, you can't get that elegance with minimalism. No doubt, you for the younger generation, minimalism is in. But then you still have people who will not give up luxury. And if you don't give up luxury, you don't give up wood. It's as simple as that.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Rohit, let me ask you, what do you think about, you know, replacement of wood in architecture? Because, you know, what, like we've been discussing, we used to have wooden windows, then we switched on to steel, aluminum. So what do you think about the future of wood and how it's going to be used in architecture?
Yeah, so interestingly listening to everyone. So first, I think today our fraternity in general is working in almost perfectly contested market space. And I say that from the perspective of information being so readily available to everyone. So in order to make a difference, in order to see that you put something out there that let's say makes a difference, it certainly needs to be aspirational in many ways. And why I bring up this discussion is because when you come to wood as a medium, and we're talking about here, talking about its luxury quotient, I don't feel wood as a medium or any material as a medium by definition becomes luxury. It is what you do with it that defines luxury, because the definition of luxury is to have something that's unique that perhaps someone else cannot have. And if you're looking at wood being the most sustainably harvested resource, then obviously the medium itself doesn't tend to call itself luxury in its truest sense. It's what we do with it and how we use it and the availability of such mediums in a particular type of wood that makes it luxury. Going forward, the reason I brought up the first discussion about how we need to make design aspirational. I mean, we work a lot in Hyderabad and Andhra and the south of India, where Vastu is a huge, let's say, restriction in terms of what you can create. Yeah, it drives the design. So if you look at Vastu and developers' own interest in FSI, what we see is that we're putting out more and more boxes rather than anything else. So you don't see as many free-form structures here as you might see anywhere else in India itself or even other parts of the world. So then it comes down to how you're going to treat the let's say, in a way that makes it stand out, in a way that makes it aspirational for people to really buy into the idea of what you've created. And that's where I see the use of wood coming in quite prominently, because you don't see it as of now as a fundamental medium as it used to be. And if you start bringing wood into, let's say, the facades of buildings even more than they were, then you feel you possibly could create something of semblance and something. I mean, we have James here who's on the cutting edge of sort of digitization and design, so on and so forth. I mean, and I think there's a lot of that coming into India, but free from structures itself is so difficult to achieve with the conditions we have, that are imposed on us. So it's difficult. And the last thing, I mean, we talk about maintenance. I mean, the fundamental issue that people have perhaps with wood is maintenance. And maintenance, I would say that you rather have a material that you could maintain, for instance, like wood, than have a material like perhaps a tile that's ceramic and it cracks and which you cannot maintain. I mean, wood probably cracks too, but perhaps some would like to leave it so because it's the nature and it adds to the beauty, and other times you might like to maintain it, fill it, and so on. So yes, I mean, it has maintenance, but it's better to have maintenance and possibility of maintenance than have a material that you cannot maintain. And then, of course, there's a big discussion around termites. At least I get that question a lot from clients when they say, using wood, what about termites? And I think what we need to know, and what I would also wish to know more of, is that I understand the wood is now re-engineered and reconstituted in a format that takes out both sugar and starch from it, and thereby, in many ways, it's like let's say taking a person who's a non-vegetarian to a non-vegetarian only restaurant. So termites aren't attracted to wood, sugar, and starch, and that's something that holds good true. So I feel what we are doing right now, and while I listen to all of you, there's a lot that I'm taking in as well, and it's the same thing that we need to send out to people, learn more, to understand the medium is viable principally. And then what we do with it, we'll turn it into luxury or whatever other forms of discussion we've had here.
So actually, I've done refurbishing of old structures quite a bit, which was 150 years old, and then so there was a lot of wood which was used in there, and that wood still we did not do anything to it, because it was treated well, because it was of a good quality of wood, that it today when we refurbish the structure, we still used it in its original form without doing anything to it. So yeah, you have to maintain wood, and of course wood is a luxury, no doubt about it. So yeah, James, how often would you use wood in your projects? I mean, have you been using any wood in the past, or you think you would be using in the future?
Actually, perfect question, because we just completed a project for a cinema where I would say nearly 90% of the material was all wood. So I would like to share that and show that to you. Here we go. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So this is a cinemaplex in Hong Kong for the American cinema group, AMC.
AMC.
Yeah, AMC Cinema Group. And basically, the entire cinemaplex is made out of wood. What we did here, for example, if you look at the public space here, we tried to rekindle the story and the notion of nature by using wood to create an abstract leaf canopy that forms the perforated ceiling on top of the public area. And that allows people to experience wood as a canopy, but even though it's an interior project, and then we conceal lights inside those leaves that allows for the light to be reflected off the wood, so that you get a whole different kind of glow to the space that you normally traditional lighting wouldn't do. So we wanted to create a feeling, an ambience, which was very much wood driven in terms of the light, the tactility. All of the counters are solid wood carved, and then the ceiling was parametrically designed using software and then manufactured in a factory and then basically hung in the space. So it was a very exciting project for us because it was a vocabulary that we didn't really do a lot of before. There's another feature here where we have a wooden brick wall. Every brick is made out of wood. There's 4 or 5 different kinds of woods, and we create a pastiche that is of different density, also parametrically slightly deflecting as it curves around the cinema, not out of the traditional ceramic or out of the traditional kind of brick, but out of wooden brick. So I just wanted to show it to you that we have had this chance to excitedly use wood to create a vocabulary that we couldn't do using the other materials because it just wouldn't be right. Yeah,
it's a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you fabricated. My question to you was it fabricated in Hong Kong? Was it fabricated in China? How was it done?
A lot of it was done on site because a lot of the joinery had to be done on site. But the ceiling, especially the ceiling, those leaves were created in a factory just across the border in China. It's much cheaper than Hong Kong. There's no production facilities left in Hong Kong. So basically we drew it in BIM, and then we sent the files up to China. They made the mock-ups. There was about four different sizes. I sent our team up there to check, and once it was okay, they just manufactured. I think there's about, just under 1,000 leaves in that project that you just saw. So they just mass produced it and trucked it down, and then over a course of a week, they hung up the leaves to create the ceiling. Yeah.
Good. Excellent. Good job.
Thank you.
I think we are almost through with all the questions. So what we are going to take from this, timber, wood is a luxury. And as James said, it's futuristic, discovering technology and building that grows. I mean, that's something we got to actually go back and start thinking about it. Houses that moves, Manish, great, let's think about it. And wood is timeless, organic material. And as our friend, he said deforestation. So it's the forests are grown actually for, so it's sustainable. So we can go ahead and use more of wood in the projects. And we should look at timber as the construction medium for actual construction as well. So I think if there are any questions anybody wants to take, or yeah, please go ahead, Sunil.
Yeah, sir, I would like to show my office where I've used all salvage wood.
Please.
All salvage wood which was used in construction, and which was, absolutely, it was thrown away by the builder, and we just captured those wood and we made our office out of that wood. I would like to take you to my office. It is not in good condition because of COVID. Right. It is all salvage wood what we have used. Can you see the pine wood, which we normally use for the scaffolding? So my entire office is made out of that salvage wood. Can you see?
So you had to treat the wood, is it?
Yeah, we have treated, but with this green chemical, lots of chemicals, green chemicals are available over here. So we use those chemicals. Can you see the entire office is made out of wood? Even the ply, we have used birch ply in its natural form. We have not given any coating, any surface coating on this surface. It is pure. It is all about purity.
Great.
This is how we have used. I'll take you to my passage. So this is my office. You can see those logs. Again, it is made out of wood.
Good.
It is all salvage material what we have used.
Interesting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nice.
So,
Reza, I have a question for you. You've been doing all you've been doing all the asking, so now you have to do the answering.
Good.
One of the biggest issues with the use of wood has been, we do not use 4x6 studs the way you use it in the US. Right? And one of the biggest reasons for this has been because, we do not have the availability of such plantations in India. So how do you see the use of wood being scaled up to such an extent that, it is widely used, where it can replace at least a portion of the steel and concrete which is typically used, if say not anything else, at least residential buildings?
So like here, as I said earlier, you got to actually have, locations where you grow the wood. Because today, if you want to use it in India, the price is not, it's expensive. It cannot be used for construction. So we do not have the technology of using wood over there. And the other reason why it's used more out here is because of the seismic problems that we have. So it's being used more over here. But in India, I think if we start growing wood, we start growing timber, we start bringing the price down, it can be used and it should be used, because as we are talking, it's a sustainable material and it can be reused. It doesn't, harm the ecosystem. So we should be using that. Right. So do we have any questions from the viewers? You want to take up any questions?
We do have a lot of questions. Can I take a couple of quick ones, please?
Please, we've got, I think we can take another few minutes. And
okay, we've got a question which is from Lalit, which is, most of the structural design softwares are not made for structural design using wood.
There is design, I mean, there are softwares which you use for available. We do not use it in India. That's a different thing, because we don't do wood constructions. So it's available in India. It's available world over, not in India. I mean, we don't use it in India.
Okay, so wood certainly a sustainable material if forests are managed well and technically to a better building material, looking into the weight to the structure. However, in our country with tropical climate, temperature is extremely high or low. How do we look at it from the consumer or house owner's perspective?
Ankur,
I think with WeatherTex, we've had a huge increase in the Pacific Islands, which have cyclone issues. As I think in Mumbai there was a cyclone a couple of weeks ago. We find that masonry constructed buildings have a very high thermal inertia. In other words, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, if it's 40 degrees outside, it'll be 40 degrees inside. At 2 o'clock in the morning, when it's 30 degrees outside, it'll still be 40 degrees inside, because the masonry structure retains the heat. If now, in the last 10 or 15 years, with technology for connectors and understanding of the wind loads from cyclones, and you can build a lightweight timber frame, timber clad building which has a very low thermal inertia. In other words, its ability to it has a very low ability to retain heat, so that if it's 40 degrees at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when it's 30 degrees, it'll be 40 degrees inside the house if it was timber. But when it's 30 degrees at 2 o'clock in the morning, say, it'll be 30 degrees inside the house. And I think that's the people that live in the Pacific Islands have realised this all of a sudden, and so nobody is building a masonry building anymore. They're all building timber frame, lightweight timber frame structures, because with the low thermal inertia, it means they can sleep at night.
Thank you. I think, James, there's a question. I think you should take this question. It says, it's an anonymous attendee. It says that, is it possible to construct Burj Khalifa with 100% use of wood material?
I never take anonymous questions. They're too dangerous. No, I mean, put it this way. With all of the capabilities and engineering technology today, anything is possible. And I don't think we should underestimate wood. There could be new forms of wood, new genetically modified woods that could have the tensile structures or tensile performance similar to steel one day. And it might have other qualities like thermal or fire ratings that could be approaching what we need for high-rise buildings. So I wouldn't rule it out. Anything is possible. Is whether or not there is the will and the need to take on those challenges. And if there is a need, then I think, you know, architects, engineers, and the industry should work towards finding those solutions. Yeah.
Right. There is a separate topic, you know, in high-rise. In the we have the CTBUH. There is a separate topic, and there is the timber construction is a separate topic. and they're doing buildings in Canada with 20-story, 25-story. So it is possible. And I think in the future, maybe we see super high rises also out of timber. So it's basically the structure is structural steel with timber, because you cannot have something out of timber totally. It's a composite kind of a thing. It's steel and timber.
Yes.
I think Architect Ankur wants to take a question here, if I can just come in. There's a question. Sure. People are using more of glass now in interior and exterior of their buildings rather than wood. So what is the reason behind that? And it's saying that, Ankur Sangvi would like to answer this question live.
I don't know. I didn't say that I want to answer the question live, but I'll just take it up anyways.
Please, please.
I think Manish answered that question a little earlier in his talk. And what he said is that, wood, for all its richness and all its positive points, is not as sleek as glass. And these days, you need to have the glass because people want to have the ability to connect to the outside. And with wooden members, what happens is that because they are not as sleek, they're not as popular as glass. So to answer the question, yes, wood is wood and glass is glass. Both have their pros and cons. So if you want sleekness, you want connectivity to the outside, you go in for glass. If you want to have that warm richness to your interiors, you go in for wood.
So
we take some
everything has got its pros and cons, and you got to use it in the right way.
Absolutely.
There are a couple of more questions. If you permit me, or how do you want to go about it, sir?
I think we can take one more question. It's
okay. So I will take this one. Can we use the tree bark as an insulation material in the cavity walls?
I'll take that up if you will. We did try that once, but what happens is that unless you treat the wooden bark, it tends to rot. Even if it is exposed to minimal humidity, it tends to rot. So you cannot use it directly. Also, the insulation value of bark, when you compare it to some other materials that you have, is not as much per inch of thickness. So that is why using bark, in a cavity wall really doesn't make sense. So people do use cork, but not the bark directly.
Yeah.
Sure. There were some questions with regards to, can you elaborate more about the type of wood used for the AMC cinema?
James?
I think that's for Mr. Law.
I think this is the extra question after the last question, so I don't want to delay everybody. We used a lot of walnut, and we actually used a lot of bamboo as well. I don't know if officially bamboo is a wood, but we're using a lot of bamboo now in that project and also in other projects because we know of its super sustainable qualities. So those were the main two kinds of woods that we were using.
Gaurav, I think we'll give rest to everybody.
Sure,
and I would just take one moment.
Please.
I mean, really thank you very much, Reza sir, for moderating this for all of us. This has been so informative, and I would really like to thank all the panelists also personally. It's so good that we are all here discussing a topic, wood, something that's made by the power of the sun. And we talk more, we learn more. And I think personally, for me also, it's been a very good learning session. And I'm sure for all the viewers also. I once again really want to thank everyone personally for even forming this panel today. Back to you, Gaurav.
We would like to express a heartfelt thanks to each of you who participated in the webinar today. The primary goal was to bring together global diaspora of leaders from around the world in open dialogue. And I think that is what we've achieved, and we've gone way above that. I would like to give a special thanks to the respected moderator, Architect Reza Kabul sir, and the esteemed panelists, each one of you, for removing your time and for actually coming to this platform and filling it with your expertise for us as a platform and for the viewers alike. And we are grateful for the time and effort you took to share your thoughts and experiences, and furthermore to our sponsors, ButeX Global and WeatherTex. We are sure the cooperation with you all will continue in the time ahead, and we look forward to the same with each and every one of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.